Rightio, in this next video, which might end up being the last one for this little series, I'm going to start off by adding some signage in 3D, but I'm going to talk about the new CAD output command, which basically means anything I do in 3D, in model viewer, I can output back into CAD. So I'm just going to go to a top view and zoom up here. So if I go to the Objects tab, Import OBJ, I'm going to open up the Signs folder and firstly bring in the roundabout sign. These signs come with the software, and I'm just going to insert it somewhere around here for now. It'll be matched onto Toto model. Click on import. Okay, so there's the roundabout sign. Next I'm going to add a keep left sign. This will be on top of the island. So import OBJ signs keep left. Alright, so I'm going to match this one onto the island. So I think it's island 1. Import. Okay, that's it. So those objects are matched to the surface. If the surface changes, then the object will insertion will change. Now on that keep left, I might put a negative adjustment on that just to lower it a little bit. Okay, so I've added a couple of signs, and I've got the line marking from the last video. So what I'm going to do is come across to the Outputs tab and show this new command called CAD output. Basically, it allows me to output the line marking I've designed, the 3D objects that I've added, and those entities will be created as CAD entities in the drawing. Now it also outputs the sight distance lines. I don't have any sight distance checks done on this this job. So for the line marking, I can see the different types of line marking added, and I can toggle them on and off, and I can pick what AutoCAD layer they'll be added to. And for the 3D objects, I've got a roundabout and keep left sign. All I do is pick a block, and I actually have a roundabout block and a keep left sign block as well. When I upload these videos, I'll include a link to download some Australian signage blocks. There's a website where you can grab them for free. So if this was a common setup that I had for CAD output, I could save this as a style and reload it in. Certainly for the objects and the blocks, and for the line marking, there might be certain layers you like to put things on. If I tick on Update Output on Model Viewer Refresh, then as I make changes to the line marking or the signage, the CAD entities will also update. So if I click on Output, and let me just resize Model Viewer there. Right, so we can see that line marking that I've designed in Model Viewer is now added in CAD, and I can also see the signage, the roundabout and the keep left sign. The blocks for those have been added, but if I was to go and pick on that roundabout sign and move it to a different location, you'll see that when I refresh the model, that sign has moved. Now the only problem there is I just need to send my image to the back. Send that one to the front. But you have a direct relationship between the blocks in CAD and the 3D models in Model Viewer. So that's a very straightforward command. We have added a few other reports in this Outputs tab. The first one you might find useful, this one's an areas report, And basically what it does is it outputs total areas for each of the materials. So I can get a total area of pavement, I can get a total area of curb, and I can also get a total area of paving, so it's the area of pavers that we're adding the islands and the roundabout, and total area of that riverstone stuff where we're sort of infilling between the existing top of curb. So that information here could be useful if you're doing, quantity takeoff, costing reports, etc. You can output a table in the drawing, export it to a CSV file. If you were setting out the signage, there is a objects report. So all I do is I pick a reference alignment. So in this case I'll go from the main road, but it tells me at what chainage and offset the roundabout and the keep left signs will be located. And if I click on object totals, it will give me a total of each of those objects, total amount of roundabout signage, keep left signage. So once again, that could help in regards to quantity takeoff as well. There is also a marking report. So based on types of line marking I have, whether they were created as using alignments or polylines, it just gives me total lengths for the different types of line marking I've added. And if you use coverage areas, it'll tell you how many, or what the area is of those coverage areas and how many you have. So there's many uses for coverage areas, chevron being one of them, but you can use it for all sorts of stuff. And then once again, these can be outputted to tables in the drawing or Excel spreadsheets. Okay, so look, the last two things I really wanted to do with this job is show you a couple of programs, one being Sketchfab, which is actually a website, and a program called Blender that I can use to create a high-res visualization of this output. So the first thing I might do is just output this design to Sketchfab, and that would allow me to share out this design with others. Just before I do it, I might just add in another 3D object. I might just go in and add, I always like using this ute. I'm just going to insert this ute at the intersection, position it on total model. Right, and we just need to rotate that into place. Okay. So if I go to the Outputs tab, we have a new command here called obj output, but that allows you to then bring the visualization into, as I said, a program like Blender, or upload to a website called Sketchfab, which I'll talk a little bit more about. So if I run that command, I'm just going to give this file a name. We'll call it intersection Reconstruction. It's actually going to output a number of files, one being a folder with the suffix Sketchfab. So if I click on Save to that, what the software will do after it creates it is it will load Sketchfab, the Sketchfab website. And this is a free to use website. Let me just go to that. Oops, that was not it. CSD models. So this is a free to use website, free to sign up, and it allows you to upload your design from the Civil Site Design, and then share it with others, and others can navigate the model, and you can add annotation, lighting, all sorts of stuff. So anyway, I'm just going to run upload. Now if I go back to that output area, you can see that software's outputted a folder with the suffix Sketchfab. I'm just going to open that up, drag all the files in, select all the files and drag and drop them here. And the software will upload that data. I'm just going to hit continue. Right, give the model a name, a description, and then the software, the Sketchfab will upload all the data, build the model for me, and when it's ready, it'll send me an email. So I'm just going to pause this video and then get back into it once I get notification. Okay, so I've just been notified that the model has been uploaded and it's ready, so I'm just loading the model in now. There's a couple of things I want to do in the settings before I share this out to people. So I'm just going to click on the settings button and click on 3D settings. The first thing you want to do is rotate the model. So I'm just going to tick on show advanced rotation, but all you do is tick on this X once and that'll fix the rotation up. The next thing I'm going to do is set the background. I'm going to go for an image. You can pick a style. There is a Pro account, and Pro account gives you a bit more options in regards to the background and whatever. I can turn on lighting, and I'll turn lights on. Oh, and maybe load in a preset. But you could have a bit of a play around with the lighting, and it's probably, you can see the shadows appearing, etc. You can change things like how powerful it is, etc. and the location, but I won't spend too much time on that. You can add annotations, so maybe when people are viewing the model, you want to tell them a bit of information about the project, so adding annotations could be quite useful. And finally, I'm just going to zoom up to a certain point and click on Save View, and this will be the view that people who open the model up will see. So I'm just going to click on Publish and Save, and Sketchfab will give me a URL. So this URL I can send to other people, share on social media if you want, and what I'm going to do is just copy that, paste it into a new tab. Okay, so this is a page that people will see. Right, when the model loads up, it zooms to that location, and yeah, basically we can, with the mouse, we can zoom and pan and rotate. You can do this on lots of different devices. I've done it on my phone, tablet, and there is actually a VR mode, so if you want to go into if you've got a VR headset, you can go into VR mode as well. In the settings, rather than orbiting, you can go to first person mode, so if you can change that walk speed, maybe slow it up a bit, but using the arrows on my keyboard I can go in and zoom around, walk around as if I was in a computer game, which is pretty cool. So people can comment, like your model, but yeah, this could be a great way of being able to show clients what you've done. If you're at a council, maybe it's a good way of getting details out to the public about proposed works. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize that. The next thing I wanted to do was just output a high-res render using Blender. Now, Blender is a free program. You can download it from blender.org. It's going to use that same OBJ file that I outputted. So I'm just going to open up Blender. Now, when you create a new Blender scene, you will get these objects: a cube, which I'll delete, a camera, and a light source. And when I start, the first thing I do is just click on N, just increase the clipping length, just so I can see more information in the view. So I'm going to click on N to turn that off. So all you need to do is go to File, Import, OBJ, and if I go to that folder, there's that OBJ file that I outputted from Model Viewer. Important thing here is you set forward to Y forward, so that upper Z, just so the model's rotated correctly, but that'll be important for anything you output from civil site design. So I click on Import OBJ. Alright, that model is added. Now, I won't be able to see this rendered yet until I add a light source. Now, to do that, I just click on Add, Lamp, and hit Sun. And here is my sun. I could just use the gizmo to rotate that into place. Or let's just go in the air there. I'll just position that. And the next thing I need to do, well, if I was to click on rendered, we can see that we have a render there now. And based on the location of that sun, we are casting a shadow. Let's go back there. In fact, I might just lower that a little bit and push it out that way. Although that didn't affect the shadow too much. Anyway, obviously though, depending on where... Oh, no. I know why. I haven't set up shadows yet. So, sorry, if I click on that sun, I click on the sun option to the right, I need to turn on sky, and I need to turn on the shadow. So that's important. Let me just increase the height of the sun. So now if we go into rendered, we should be casting shadows, which we are. You can see the shadow on the sign and the vehicle there. Now if you're doing street lighting, you do have the option to add lamps at the location of the street lighting. I've had a bit of a play with this, it's pretty easy to do. The next thing I want to do is just add a camera, and you'll need this to output a final render. So I'm going to click on to insert a camera and just locate. Actually, let me just delete that one. If you right click the mouse, you can set your insertion location. So I'm just going to go in and re-add the camera again. There it is. And the camera should have a target, so I'm going to add an empty, so I'll right click roughly where I want it first and then add an empty circle, and that will become the target. Now to link the camera to the target, you select both the objects, select both the objects and then hold down Control T and set it to track to constraint. So wherever my camera target is, my camera will rotate to point to that. So I'm just going to add another view, and this view will display the camera. But as you can see, I just need to maybe... Oh, maybe I didn't link that properly. Let me just try that again. Control T, track to constraint. Okay, I mustn't have been clicking it properly. Okay, so that's better. So if I move the target, right, click on the camera, move the camera. Might just push the camera back a little bit. Right, but we have a dynamic setup now, so as I move the target and the camera, I can see the view updating. Now if I click on the camera button, I can set a camera preset. It's a whole bunch of different cameras that I can use. I'll just accept the defaults for now. If I click on the render button, then what I can do is set a preset for the render, maybe HD 1080. Right, there's a few other options I won't go into. I'll say we're going to output a JPEG, right, and then click on render once I'm ready. And that's it. If I click on image, save a copy, right, I'll just dump it in that same location. Render 1, save image. Now there is a way to turn shadow casting off for the line marking. Basically the line marking is inserted with a vertical offset, so it's not fighting with the terrain, but you can turn off the shadow casting for individual objects. But that's it. It's really easy. Blender's a free program. You can output your civil site design model directly in it, and then it's really just a matter of adding a light source and a camera, and then away you go. So thank you for watching this tutorial series on showcasing some of the new features of civil site design on this intersection reconstruction job.